So we have Bill Hennekins here today from B-Dry Basement Systems. We have a lot of clients that ask us about how to fix their flooded basement. Is it the gutters? Do they need a B-Dry system or just some underground drainage? So we figured we'd just ask the professional himself, and we have Bill Hennekins here today to answer the questions that you posted on Facebook. From Lex Patron, I live in a basement apartment. What are some steps, tips, and tricks I can utilize in keeping my apartment dry? Also, should I look into buying a dehumidifier for air quality?
Let me start out with air quality. Absolutely invest in a good dehumidifier. If you don't have one that you can drain to a sink or a floor drain, then get one that has a pump in it. Dehumidifiers are great for controlling the humidity, especially in areas where you have rivers like the Hudson Valley right here. A lot of people say, oh, dehumidifiers, they use so much in electric and they don't work. No, dehumidifiers don't work because you don't keep them running. The standard ones you buy, they have a bucket, 2 gallons. It fills up in 2 to 3 hours and shuts off. You're at work. The humidity is building in your apartment or your home until you get home. And what's the first thing you do? You run downstairs because you smell mustiness, you dump the bucket, you plug it back in, and the machine goes back on again. But you know, by the time you're done watching TV and you go to bed, it's full again. And now it's not working all night long. So really try to get one where you can drain it to a sink, a septic line or a sewer line, or a pump up one that can pump the water up and into a sink or a septic line. The other tips, if you're in a basement apartment, there are definitely downspouts and gutters coming off the building. If they're dropping right next to the wall, have the landlord extend them further away from the house. Anything dropping within the footprint, which is the backfill of the foundation, after they built the foundation and built the house, anything dropping within that footprint is going to take the path of least resistance and run right into your basement apartment.
From Siobhan, we are looking into gutting our basement and we'll have to redo all of the plumbing. Any tips to alleviate future issues would be greatly appreciated.
Well, that's quite a project that you're tackling there. But one of the first things I would say is if you're redoing your plumbing, make sure you insulate all your cold water and your hot water pipes. Insulating your hot water pipes saves you money in heating, and insulating your cold water pipes keeps the condensation from dripping off the pipes. Do you know how many times I get called and people say, oh, we have water in our basement? And I go on an appointment and their water is in a nice straight line, and all we do is look up ahead and I say, look at that. And they say, what? And I take my finger and I run it across the pipe and the water drops on their head and I say, you need a dehumidifier and you need to insulate your pipes. The other things are, again, your first defense for keep water out of your basement are gutters and leaders properly installed and properly sized. I don't work for brothers who just do gutters, but I am a customer of theirs, and I'm totally thrilled with the work they did. If you don't have gutters and leaders, you need them immediately, because all the water coming off your roof is dropping right in that footprint and coming right back into the foundation. Next, keep them clean. If you're not capable of getting up on the ladder or on the roof yourself, there are companies like Brothers who will clean your gutters for you on a regular basis. Dehumidification, huge. It doesn't matter how much you insulate, how much you take water away from the house. In the summer, there's humidity. Humidity condenses on cold surfaces. Concrete floors, concrete walls are cold. Continuously running a dehumidifier at the medium setting until it shuts itself off is the way to help your air quality and make your life much better in your basement.
From Lisa Marie, I recently had the gutters replaced on my home after our basement flooded, but after the last few big storms we had, we are still getting some water leakage and issues into our basement. What does this mean and what should we do?
It's a great question. I get asked it about 5 or 6 times a day. Okay, now, one of the first things is determine where the water's coming in. If you look and you see that it's coming where the floor and the wall meet, that's called the cove. And what's there is what they call a difference of coefficient of expansion and contraction. The wall, the footing, and the floor grow and shrink at a different rate with temperature changes. If you look, you'll see a seam there. Is the water coming in there? Or is it a block foundation? Are the blocks wet? Can you visibly see the blocks? And by the way, waterproofing paint is a pigment of people's imagination, all puns intended. If you waterproof paint your blocks, you're going to rot your foundation out. I see it time and time and time again. It temporarily traps water in the block, softens the mortar joints, and when you see the paint peeling off and there's a piece of mortar attached to it, that's like blowing out a disc in your back. Pretty soon you're going to be seeing settling cracks in the foundation. If you have a poured foundation, is it coming through the crack in the wall? Most of the time you'll find the cracks under the pockets. What's a pocket? Where the windows are cut in, where the carry beams go into the foundation itself, where electric lines or water lines come through. So doing a little detective work before you call a professional in to see what's going on will help a lot. Now walk outside in a rainstorm. Is there ponding right next to the foundation? Is the water that's hitting your front stoop running back towards the sill plate or running away from the house itself? The same thing with your patio, the same thing with your driveway. If you're on a hill, water should drain away. If you're in the flats, then you're probably dealing with a water table problem and you're going to need a professional. But be careful who you call. Not everybody is honest in the business. Go to your Angie's List. They're independent. They'll tell you who's good, they'll tell you who's bad.
We have a question from Lynn Catapano Diapais. If I have a basement on land with a high water table and or in a flood zone, what are some tips to maintain a dry basement?
That's two separate questions. High water tables. In the Hudson Valley where we're located, the water tables are rising. And why are they rising? We all live on the same sponge, and that's the earth. And every time you take out a piece of that sponge and replace it with non-absorbent material, such as blacktop, concrete, swimming pools, playgrounds, shopping malls, it takes less water to fill the remaining sponge than it did before. The only thing that controls a water table on a flat piece of property is an interior pressure relief system. And that entails opening up the floor, putting a series of pipes in under the floor. There are several other steps that have to go, but remember, in controlling water, as opposed to other things, size of the pipe matters. The quicker you can move water to however you're going to evacuate it, the better it is for you. That's water table. It's 100% controllable. It's our meat. We do it all the time. B-Dry has over 500,000 satisfied customers coast to coast. B-Dry of Southern New York has over 9,000 satisfied customers, and that's since 1984. A house in a flood zone, I have a couple of tips. First, make sure you have flood insurance, because nobody can control flood water except the guys with one O in their name, and there's three of them. That's Noah, God, and Moses. They just call me good. I have two O's. Always check before you buy a house to see if it's listed in a flood zone or not. Flood zones changed. There are 5 new flood zones in the Hudson Valley within the past 5 years.